All right, our fourth game of week 4 is the Commissioner Bowl. We got Hooligan at Mama's Boys. I thought about making this the game of the week just because of the matchup and the drama and everything that ensues, but a pair of 1-2 records, I just couldn't bring myself to make it the game of the week. But it made the number 4 slot, so feel good about that, Commissioners. Let's get started with Hooligan side. Drew Brees off to a 3-0 start. Looks like a man on a mission. He's been playing extremely well. Had that minor setback in Tampa, but then came back strong last week against Arizona. I think he has another great day against Miami. I think Miami finally gets exposed for who they are, playing somewhat of a soft schedule so far. So I think Drew Brees has a nice game on Monday night and gets Hooligan the anchor leg that he needs in this matchup. Lamar Miller, in that same game. Not really thrilled about that. I mean, the New Orleans run defense is average at best, but you just don't know what Lamar Miller's role is at this point. They seem like a team that's throwing the football quite a bit, not so much attention being paid to the run game. So it's just hard to say what kind of production you're going to get from Lamar Miller. On down to Jason Snelling. I mean, everybody knew coming out of the draft that Hooligan's weakness was going to be at the running back spot, and then with the injury to Steven Jackson, it's never been more apparent than it is right now. Jason Snelling is really no more than a third down back in passing situations. It seems like they're going with Jacquizz Rodgers as the every down back for now, and then bringing Snelling in when they need a big body to get out in the passing game. So don't look for much production from Snelling either at this point. Looking down to the wide receiving core, you got Antonio Brown has started to come on for the Steelers of late. He's emerging as one of Ben's favorite targets. I really think that he's going to get a shot against that Minnesota secondary to get behind them and get down the field. So not a bad play with Antonio Brown this week. Demaryius Thomas, a lot's been made of this Denver Philly game. He was electric again in the Monday night affair. I think that he gets an opportunity to put up some more big numbers against Philadelphia, so look for that as well. Marquise Colston, obviously, when we talk about Drew Brees, we talk about Marquise Colston being one of his primary targets. I think the two of them have a chance to hook up and do some good things on Monday night against Miami. David Akers, kicking against Chicago at home in the Dome. I think that's going to be a great play. Detroit's going to move the football, obviously. You got no outdoor weather conditions to deal with, so look for David Akers to have a successful day kicking against the Bears on Sunday. And then lastly, for Hooligan, you got the Vikings, Minnesota versus Pittsburgh. It's hard to get Ben on the ground. From a sack perspective, he's always got guys hanging off of him, and he's on the verge of being sacked, and he wiggles out and chucks the ball down the field. But he is prone to make some bad decisions in that moment right before he's about to get sacked. So I think Minnesota's got a chance to capitalize on some turnovers. Obviously, the Pittsburgh running game isn't what it used to be, so they can really sort of pin their ears back and go after Ben. So I look for that to be a pretty decent play. Not a great play, but a decent play from the defensive standpoint. Let's switch over and get Mama's lineup. Kaepernick's one of those guys that's really been frustrating this year. Touted as one of those top 10 fantasy quarterbacks, and I think he's really kind of disappointed. Definitely the Seattle game wasn't what everybody expected it to be. And then, last week they had a chance to really run the football more, but just wasn't overwhelming from a passing standpoint. So look for Kaepernick to rebound. I think you can throw on St. Louis. Tony Romo did last week. So they're gonna mix it up both run and pass, but I think Kaepernick has a better game than he had last week. DeMarco Murray really started to come into his own last week against St. Louis. Something about that Rams team just brings out the best in him. If you remember his breakout game when he was a rookie, where he gained those 256 yards on the ground. Another big performance last week, 175 yards rushing and a touchdown. So looks like he's rolling pretty well right now. San Diego gives him another opportunity to have a good game. So look for him to continue in that direction. Doug Martin, we got Tampa Bay and Arizona. The Tampa Bay's in flux, and I'm really concerned for Doug Martin because with Mike Glennon getting the start at quarterback, teams are going to focus on Martin. They're gonna load up the box and they're going to make Glennon beat them with his arm. And I just don't think he's going to be able to. And I don't think Doug Martin's going to find very much running room against anybody until Mike Glennon proves that he can read NFL defenses and get the ball out effectively. So it might be a struggle for Doug Martin for the next couple weeks or however long the Mike Glennon experiment lasts. Dez Bryant, again, I think Dez is really coming to his own as an elite receiver in the NFL. You're seeing him catch all the routes on the tree, from the fade to the back shoulder throw to the go route, the in cuts, all of them. I mean, he's just really becoming a complete receiver. So week in and week out, he makes for a great start and a great fantasy option. A little bit of a setback for Mama's Boys. Randall Cobb won't be available, obviously, from the Packers standpoint. So, we go down his lineup. Maybe it's Torrey Smith. Maybe it's DeAndre Hopkins. Who knows? He's got a couple of wide receiving options that he can go with, but obviously probably none as versatile as Randall Cobb, so he'll definitely be missed this week. Moving down to David Wilson. I thought last week was going to be his breakout. He did actually score on a pretty nice touchdown run that got called back due to a hold. So I think we're still waiting on his breakout game. I just don't like this Kansas City game because, number one, the Giants aren't playing well. Number two, they're playing at Arrowhead, which is probably next to Seattle, probably the hardest place in the NFL to play because of the noise. And then third, I just think that Kansas City pass rush is just going to be all over Eli Manning, and I just don't see David Wilson having an opportunity to get involved. So it may not be this week, but look for him to break out somewhere in the not too distant future. Garrett Hartley should have an opportunity to kick plenty of points in that Monday night affair against Miami, so that's a nice play. And then the Broncos going up against Philadelphia. I actually think this Bronco defense is going to give Philadelphia some fits. However, as long as Michael Vick doesn't make horrible decisions with the football, this offense is a hard offense to create turnovers against. So I would say, expect a mediocre performance from the Denver defense, and you'll probably get your 5 to 6 points out of them facing that Michael Vick-led offense. So we look at this matchup, and we see right now it's a 1-point spread. Actually, when Mama gets a receiver in the lineup, he'll actually be favored by a couple points. I'm just a believer in Drew Brees at this point, and I think he's going to have what it takes to overcome what Mama brings to the table. So I've actually got an upset special here. I'm going to take Hooligan in the upset special over Mama. All right, on to the game of the week.